We must persuade the Commerce Guild and the Corporate Alliance to sign the treaty.
With these new battle droids we built for you, you'll have the finest army in the galaxy.
Explained to you earlier, I am quite convinced that 10,000 more systems will rally to our cause with your support, gentlemen.
The Techno-Union Army is at your disposal, Count.
Their banking clan will sign your treaty.
Our friends from the Trade Federation have pledged their support, and when their battle droids are combined with yours, we shall have an army greater than any in the galaxy. The Jedi will be overwhelmed. The Republic will agree to any demands we make.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and Time Magazine put out perhaps the most hilarious article I've ever seen. A simple equivalency to O.J. Simpson's book, What If I Did It? Now, obviously, are you listening to me, YouTube? I am not making any claims here. I am just reacting to an article that exists from super uber trusted news source Time. Now, interestingly, some of the reaction has been as you would have expected. You see Eric Weinstein saying, wow, the really bad guys are congratulating themselves for successfully conspiring and gaslighting against the even worse guys. For America? Clearly, I've lost the storyline. He continues, by saying, is there no one in institutional position of power who resembles an ethical adult? No, they don't. You see Tim Pool here getting censored on Twitter saying, I don't think it even matters at this point. Time Magazine just came out and said that a cabal of elites fortified the election by changing the rules and laws as well as manipulating the flow of information. You can see here also Tim going on to say, so Time Magazine is claiming that anti-Trump individuals engaged in something unlawful or harmful to stop Trump. You can see a secret plan by a group by doing something unlawful or harmful, the definition of conspiracy. You see Time's own magazine saying, there is a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes. One of the most both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. They're the same. The pact was formalized in a terse, little-noticed joint statement of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the AFL-CIO published on Election Day. Both sides would come to see it as a sort of implicit bargain inspired by the summer's massive, sometimes destructive, peaceful gatherings in which the forces of labor came together with the forces of capital to keep the peace and oppose Trump's plans to take down democracy. You see here Tim also saying this article is like nothing I've ever read before. It's not stealing anything if it's legal. And with all this, Trump still only lost by 100,000 votes across a few states. Tim replying, the rule changes, notably what happened in October back in Pennsylvania, were unconstitutional at the state and federal level. A judge said that the case would likely win on the merits as it was sent to a higher court and then rejected on standing, not merit. You see Aiden Paladin seeing the article saying, what was the point of this? Bragging rights? Kudos? I don't understand why you'd come out and be like, oh yeah, we did absolutely everything to ensure our guy won, including what we ourselves define as, quote, conspiracy, and think it's a good look. Michael Tracy saying, the takeaway from this article is that Dem-aligned foundation activists and media power structure in the United States successfully used every tool at their disposal to oust Trump, which had been their sole monomaniacal objective for 4 years. I mean, ultimately, that's exactly what it was. I mean, this article it comes as zero surprise to me whatsoever. And, ultimately, part of you has to say, like, look, this is the way it's always been. And now it's just more easily tracked. And now they know they have so much power now, the institutions and mainstream media, that they don't even have to hide it. You can have this here. The nation braced for chaos. Liberal groups had vowed to take to the streets, planning hundreds of protests across the country. Instead, an eerie quiet descended as president, talking about the election. The second odd thing happened amid Trump's attempt to reverse the result. Corporate America turned on him. Hundreds of major business leaders, many of whom had backed Trump's candidacy and supported his policies, called on him to concede. To the president, something felt amiss. It was all very, very strange. Trump said on December 2nd, within days after the election, he witnessed an orchestrated effort to anoint the winner, even while many key states were being counted. Well, yeah, that's how it went. In a way, Trump was right. There was a conspiracy unfolding behind the scenes, one that both curtailed the protests and coordinated the resistance from CEOs. Now, let me be very clear. Obviously, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I don't care who my viewers vote for. I've voted Democrat, Republican, and Independent Libertarian in my life, and I'm sure that I'll be voting all over the place for the rest of my life, as long as that may be. But the idea is, if you think you're part of the resistance with CEOs and corporate media and Nike and Amazon, you're not. You're a useful idiot. Now, there's a difference between not liking Trump and voting for someone else and thinking you're and LARPing as mini Che Guevara and thinking you're changing things, standing arm in arm with Amazon and Nike. Now, I know most Biden supporters weren't that way, but just the ones that get on TV are. Both surprises were the result of an informal alliance between left-wing activists and business titans. I mean, obviously, we saw this type of censorship play out on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube in real time. Were some of the things that were removed by these platforms maybe against toss? Yeah, I'm sure some of it was. Was some of it someone's opinion or speculation or maybe even true? Yeah, I'm sure some of that was as well. The handshake between businesses and labor was just one component of a vast cross-partisan campaign to protect the election, an extraordinary shadow effort dedicated not to winning the vote, but ensuring it would be free and fair, credible and uncorrupted. It's so hilarious that they think all of the things that they did, these are the things that they accused Trump of in 2016. But when the mainstream media does it and their guy gets in, it's okay. It's heroic. I'm no uber Trump guy. There's a lot of things that he did that I wasn't happy with. I think he blew it on doing anything with Section 230. He didn't really do much in terms of updating and getting a handle on giving people a path to citizenship and protecting the borders. He didn't do a lot of things that he said he was going to do. He did, usher in 4 years of peace, which he promised to do, and Biden's already working at unraveling that. For more than a year, a loosely organized coalition of operatives scrambled to shore up America's institutions as they came under simultaneous attack from a remorseless coof and an autocratically inclined president. Though much of this activity took place on the left, it was separate from the Biden campaign and crossed ideological lines. Well, it was never about being a Democrat. It was about getting rid of Trump. That's what it was. And if you want to be realistic, a lot of people that voted for Trump in 2016 were like, I do not want Hillary. Hillary was, in my lifetime, the most unlikable candidate maybe ever. Mitt Romney's pretty unlikable. And that's what lost her the election. the basket of deplorables talk and all this crap. She thought she was just going to walk in and win, and she lost. And ultimately, there were people, again, that voted out of spite for Trump because they didn't like Hillary, and same this time around, people voting for Biden. I don't think anyone really loves Biden, especially a lot of people finding out now that, like, he's keeping Space Force. He still hasn't mailed out any of these checks to people. There's still kids in cages that, they're just called overflow centers now. Their work touched every aspect of the election. They got states to change voting systems and laws and help secure hundreds of millions in public and private funding. They fended off voter suppression lawsuits, recruited armies of poll workers, and got millions of people to vote by mail for the first time. And that was really the difference, I think. To me, if there wasn't the vote by, which was a brilliant stroke, obviously, Trump made a huge mistake telling people to not use the system because, they were going to count the votes whether you liked it or not. So you should have told people to use it. That's why we had a record number of total votes. This was all within the amount. Much of what they're saying here was within the guidelines of the law. When you're talking about changing elections or changing laws, that is very suspect. They pressured social media companies to take a harder line against disinformation and use data-driven strategies to fight viral smears. Again, this article is a masterclass in propaganda. What they did was pressure an already willing social media platform like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and said, hey, we need you to suppress things that make our candidate look bad. We need you to hide things that make the other guy look good. This is just an undeniable fact. They finished national public awareness campaigns that help Americans understand how the vote count will unfold over days and weeks. Some of these things are good, right? Trump's conspiracy theories and false claims of victory from getting more traction. After Election Day, they monitored every pressure point to ensure that he could not overturn the result. The untold story of the election is the thousands of people of both parties who accomplished the triumph of American democracy at its very foundation. This is a very creepy way. This is a very creepy way to say, like, we literally did everything and worked together with the corporate media, social media, those in power to work against this. Now, again, not everything they did was necessarily bad or, hey, look, people being informed on how election works, that's a good thing. The mail-in voting, Trump got beat on that. He should not have told people, hey, don't do this, don't trust it, because there's certainly a lot of people that he probably could have convinced to vote as opposed to staying home altogether. There's also obviously the sickness that probably cost him the presidency too. And this whole article, the architect, somewhere in the fall of 2019, Mike Podhorzer became convinced the election was headed for disaster, meaning Trump would win, and determined to protect it. It's funny how they use this word. They go on to talk about, and I'll leave a link to the archive of this because it's hilarious with this securing the vote, fortifying the election. It's an entire article of just creepy, like, our guy was Jesus and the other guy was the devil, and therefore everything we did was righteous. This is really, really bizarre. Trump did get beat by this. Some of the things, obviously, still in question by many, but history is still being written. And they talk about, how close we can. What would it have really been that bad? 4 more years? I don't think people understand that the president has, like, very little power. And really, Biden's not going to do jack either. You know, remember everyone's like, ooh, if we win Georgia, we're going to get these big checks. Where are those checks? You know, stop listening to politicians. They literally all lie, and they're in bed with people like this. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll talk to you again real soon.